All right, so is there any questions on the homework so far? I hear some giggling, so that means that I'm hoping there's a yes. And no question is a dumb question. The only dumb question is the question that's not asked, right? Is that how it goes? Something like that. Something like that. So, come on, somebody speak up. I know there's some questions. And if you have questions, take a screenshot of like with your camera, and then so you can remember how to do it and what your question was, and we can do it on the board.
I just have it written down. Like,
Okay.
just when I think I'm getting it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well,
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so you have a medication, 2 milligrams per milliliter, to be diagnosed at 4 milligrams per kilogram per dose.
Okay.
And then your patient weighs like 9 kilograms. So you figure out how many milliliters. I think I actually find
It's a light,
So 6.9 kilos, not 0.9.
so
Okay. So first things first, we got to find out what our real dose is, because right now we have a dose per kilogram. This is a general dose, but it's not yet specific to our patient. So we got to take 6.9 and multiply it by 4. So what's
you're gonna divide it.
no?
Oh, multiply it, yeah.
So 6.9 times 4 equals, do we have a calculator?
27.6.
27.6 milligrams, right, is our patient's dose. Okay. So now I can use dimensional analysis.
So you would do that first before you start.
Yes, you have to.
Okay.
You have to know what you're going to be giving your patient specifically.
Because I was making that part of the dimensional analysis.
You can, so let's do that.
Well, it
how
doesn't
you do
matter.
it.
Keep going the way you're doing it.
Oh. This is how I would do it. .6 times 1 divided by 2. How many mLs is that?
13.8.
13.8 mLs. So that's, there it is.
Okay, so that's what I got, but I did like 1 ml over 2 milligrams times 4 milligrams over 1 kilogram. And then 1 mil.
Same thing.
Okay.
You could add that easily to dimensional analysis. Reminder for you guys from me is I never took this class. So some things that I have ingrained in habit, like me just right off the bat doing 4 milligrams times 6.9 before I even start the work, is from habits of ICU care and just doing things my own way. So yes, either way will work, but that's why I just did that right off the bat, because that's what I think quickly, just from years of doing it. But yeah, I have a lot of math, and then went to nursing school. So that's why sometimes I just do things really quickly or in my head. So thank you, I appreciate that. Make sure if I do something that doesn't make sense, you let me know, okay?
We'll just, so over time, doing it over and over again, then we'll probably get to where we just know we have to multiply.
Yes.
And not have to-
Practice makes permanent, and good practice makes permanent good habits. So.
Will you do the one that you were talking to her about, the 3 quarts and the milliliters? Will you do that one? Or
So-
the liter, yeah, to milliliters.
So on there was 3 quarts mLs, right? How many mLs, right? So,
Dimensional analysis.
two things that you could do. I'll tell you what is okay, because you have your cheat sheet that says which is all fine and dandy for I's and O's, approximately, okay? And so then, a lot of people did this. That's okay, I'll accept it. But what I would prefer is,
And square equals 30 grams is how I do it.
so, that's right.
You're upside down. 1 quart. And then
Times
1 ounce equals 30 mLs.
And that should be like 2880. Someone has a calculator.
Yep.
I will accept either or. Okay.
I did everything.
But I would prefer this because that's more accurate. And when we're talking about actual medications and concentrations and those kinds of things, the most accurate is the best for your patient. If you were wondering, what's best for your patient? Accurate calculation, right? Okay, what else? Anything? Nada?
Can you do, I just feel like I'm the only one maybe, and so I feel bad.
No. What it is you're the only one that's brave enough to say something, but everybody has had one question or another that they just didn't ask. So,
Okay, well,
case in point, last semester I had a math class. I'm like, any questions? Any questions? And everybody just sat there. And I'm like, any questions? Because I'm going to go on. And finally said, can you do number 20? And everybody goes, oh, thank goodness for asking. Like you could hear the whole class sigh at the same time. Like, oh, everybody should ask that question. Don't wait on somebody to ask your questions. So, case in point, ask a question, please do.
okay, so we have amoxicillin, 250 milligrams for 5 milliliters. So patient takes 1 teaspoon 3 times a day for 10 days. How many grams will she take in 10 days?
How many grams?
Mm-hmm. That was on the test.
That's all in
Okay.
there. Okay,
That one's easy.
first things first.
1 teaspoon equals 5 mLs.
1 teaspoon goes 5 mLs, but that's still not what you're gonna do.
That's a good start. 1 teaspoon equals 5 mLs. So we know that we're taking 5 mLs 3 times a day, right?
Right.
So that'd be 250 times 3 times
250 times 3, yes, times 10. And then we have to convert that, but that's still milligrams, right?
10. Yes.
So we can use dimensional analysis for this.
Two-dimensional analysis.
That's what I'm trying to do for all of them,
That's
is
good.
to get my brain.
Okay, 1 teaspoon.
thinking out there.
1 teaspoon equals
1 teaspoon equals 5 mLs. 5 mLs equals 250 milligrams.
Yeah, stop there.
No.
250 milligrams.
Oh, it does ask for grams.
Yeah, we can do that to grams, which is how many?
1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram.
1 gram.
There you go.
And then we have
Times 30.
times 30 or 3 times per day. we,
If you just get the grams, then you can multiply.
you can multiply it by 30, but I'm trying to do dimensional analysis.
There isn't, cause you can't go to
Just do
days,
like
you can't
three-
convert to days.
3 over 1.
Because there are 3
Doses per one day.
doses,
Per 1 day.
1 day.
And then 10 days over total dose.
Okay, so far, so we're left with doses.
And if you get the
So far, teaspoons, mLs, milligrams. And we want grams. But days gone. Well, the doses don't matter, so.
And it's asking for grams, so.
So, 1 times 5 times 250 times 3 times 10 divided by 5 divided by 1,000
5,000.
divided by 8,000.
5,000.
Why would it be? Well, you can do divided by 5 divided by 1,000, or you can say divided by 5,000 total.
Okay.
So what does that come out to?
7.5?
I got 0.
Can't be 0.5, because 0.5 would be 500.
And you're,
You already have
You're not-
750 in a day, and so 750 times 10 is 7,500
Milligrams.
milligrams, and then if you move a decimal place 3 places to the left, that will get you 7.5 grams. So multiple ways to do this. That would be dimensional analysis.
Did you do a combination of both? Will you accept that?
Either or, yeah. If you just did this, I would take that. Or
Oh,
250 times 3 times 10, right?
yeah,
That's right.
I would accept that. That just shows me that you have a thought process and you're working through the problem. I just want to see how you're working through the problem. Preferred way is dimensional analysis if you can use it. But any way that gets you the right answer, I want to see how you got there. Because if there's a way that clicks for you, then use it. Because like I said, during nursing school, when they would teach it, I go, la 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 la, because I already had a way that worked for me every time and I got 100%. So I stuck to it. No matter what they told me, no matter what they said, if I'm consistent and I get the right answer every time and it's quick, I don't care. So I'll help you with your way. If you have a way that you're doing it, I can figure out your math and I can say, okay, this is what the step that you missed to make your way work. I'm willing to do that, as long as you guys figure out a way. But dimensional analysis is the best way because you decrease the amount of missing steps. So,
Okay, and so you put the 1,000 in the bottom to divide it by, because you know you're going from milligrams to grams.
right.
Right.
Right. But in me, like if I would have done this problem before I took this class, or before, let me rephrase that, before I taught this class, this is exactly how I would have done it. Just real quick on the calculator. So, is there some sort of dimensional analysis in there? Yeah, there is.
Well, don't we need to get to that point? Because you're not gonna be able to like
Um,
line it all up and,
Yes and no. You need to understand the relationship of numbers. That's why we started from the beginning with 1 + 1 = 2, and then we went to fractions, and then we went to long division and all those things, and ratios. We did that because you have to understand the relationship of numbers and how they work out. So that's part of the reason we start there. So dimensional analysis is great, and especially when you see we start doing medications today, and oral medications, and then IV medications, and then when we get to IV drips, dimensional analysis is the best. Okay, so this can kind of be either or, but for those drip calculations, dimensional analysis is the best. And I'll tell you, when I started doing drip calculations, I just did what I knew worked, because of my previous math experience, and so I did it the same way every time. And then I went to do for ICU drips, for the complicated math problems, for going from like mLs to mics per minute, per kilo per minute, you know, those kinds of things, per mLs per hour, and all those kind of complicated things. I already had a way I did it. And so I did it all out, and then I realized after teaching this class for the first time last semester that I've been doing dimensional analysis the whole time. So it's the easiest way. You want to go over that one? Why did you find that area? You need to speak
You
up.
have to come read it. 'Cause
Okay.
it's- Yeah.
Okay, so the order is for RNSP 0.02 milligrams. Sub-Q,
Where's this at?
this is on page 282 in the book. Once a week, so weekly. Okay. Available is 40 micrograms per 1 ml.
Start with what you know.
Okay. Wait a second. This is the mics and that's in milligrams. So what are we going to do?
Move this.
You can move the decimal place right off the bat, or you can use dimensional analysis. So we'll do both. So if I can go like this. 1, 2, 3. So that would be 20 micrograms.
Divided by the.
So 20 times 1 divided by 40. That would be using just dimensional analysis by moving my decimal place, because I know how to convert in the metric system. Okay, that would be the quickest way. If you're that person that's like, man, this is new to me, this new metric system, I can't remember, is it 1, 2, or 3 decimal places that I need to move it? Then use your conversion chart. Start with 0.02 milligrams. 1 milligram is 1,000 micrograms, and then my available of 40 micrograms, 1 ml. So what crosses out everything, right? It's leaving me with 1 ml. So my answer is still the same, 0.5 mLs. Okie dokie. Any other questions? This is good. See, the afternoon classes are bashful, and they ask like 20 questions every time, and it's good because everybody gets to hear it. I'm like, I'm gonna have to start recording the afternoon because they ask good questions. So you guys are redeeming yourself. So,
You got the other one, don't you?
I have another one.
yes, please, good.
Okay, so the order is 10 milligrams per kilogram per day. And the patient divide this into 3 doses. Patient weighs 12 kilograms. How much will she take per dose?
And she weighs how much?
12 kilograms.
Okay. So, what do we know right off the bat?
10 milligrams per kilogram.
Can't spell today. Say 10 milligrams per kilogram per day. So I need to make this specific to my pellet patient. So I know right off the bat that I'm going to have 120 milligrams per day.
You have doctor's handwriting, you know what?
It's not that bad.
No, it's almost there. Did you say divided to 3 doses? Is that
Right.
what that is? Okay.
Yes.
Can't
So
remember.
this is our starting point. This is our starting point. We have to make this dose pertinent to our patient, aka the weight. Okay, so 10 times 120 is 120. So 120 milligrams per day. Okay, now I'm going to take 120 because I got to divide it by 3 doses, right?
Mhm.
So 120 divided by 3 equals 40 milligrams per dose.
Okay.
So dimensional analysis, you'd spend more time trying to figure out dimensional analysis instead of using just common sense on this one. I know that you guys can use common sense. It's possible. By the way, if you have a divided dose that is more than your dose per day, then you might have the wrong answer. Does that make sense?
Say it one more time.
So let's say I do the math and I know that my 120 milligrams per day is my starting point, and I need to divide that by 3, and then I come out with the answer that I'm going to take 240 milligrams per dose. That doesn't add up, right? So make sure that common sense tells you, hey, why would my divided dose be more than the total dose? That doesn't make sense. I need to redo my math, okay? Because I've gotten a couple of those answers, and I teach 3 sections of this class, so I have 65 students that take this class from me. So you're not the only ones. Everybody has one of those mix-ups every once in a while. So just make sure you look at your work, okay? Okay, what else? Anything else? Okay, so I was doing my 45-day rolls where we decide who we're going to keep, who we're going to drop, those kinds of things. And this goes for, I'm saying this right now because this is being recorded, and this goes for all my 60 plus students that take this class. There are a lot of you who are getting a spectacular A, which is great, until you look at how many points completed versus how many points available. And then I look at there and I'm like, wow, this person's done 60 out of 280 points available. And this person's done, 280 out of 280 points available. Okay? That's concerning to me, considering that in a couple weeks, we have 2 more weeks of class before spring break. And one of those 2 is going to be a quiz or an in-test math test in class where all you do is show up and take a written test and turn it into me, and then I grade it and put it in the computer. So, if you want to do well on that test, I would suggest that you have all your work done before you take that test. So if that means a long couple weekends or a long couple weeks of playing catch up, that's a great idea, because not only will you bomb the test right before spring break, but you'll also get zeros on anything that's not completed by Friday night before spring break. And no ifs, ands, or buts. I will just give you zeros. There's no like, oh, but I had this happen on Friday the 13th. Wait a second. We had 60 days to take care of this. So make sure you understand that to succeed in this class, that you need to make sure that you have all your work done before that last week, because we're going to have all we're going to have. There's no lecture that last week. I'll just tell you now, we are taking a test the week before spring break. Treat it like a midterm. Have all your work done, study, and we're going to take that test. It's going to be for chapters 16 through 18, the harder chapters, okay? I do those chapters because before we go, you have to have a solid foundation in those chapters before we move on to the other more complicated chapters that follow spring break, okay? So,
We have forums and stuff like that we need to
yes,
do.
also, you get points for forums.
Yeah.
If you haven't responded to the forums, you're missing out on some easy free points. And I'm glad you said that, because this most recent forum, if you notice, the one that went with chapter 16, to get full points is different than the other forums. The other forums, all you had to do was make a new thread, a new post. Okay. With this next one, or the one on chapter 16, and through on out, make sure you look closely, because it says not only do you have to start a new thread, but you have to engage in some sort of conversation or respond to somebody else's thread also. Each is worth 5 points, for a total of 10 points for the forum. So make sure you start a new thread with your own thoughts about the subject, and then respond to somebody else's thoughts about the subject for it to get full credit for the forum. Okay? Because I have some people who were really excited to get started, and they were like one of the first people to respond in every single class. They're the first person to respond, and they have yet to come back and look at it and say, oh, I have to respond to other people. So if you want full credit, you need to make sure that you Not only do yours, but you respond to somebody else, okay?
Will you show us the chapters we need to do forms in?
It's part of your timeline.
Okay.
So when you go in there, just go, the best thing to do if you're behind, because the grade book, like I said, there's a little glitch in the grade book that only shows you what you've done. And it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside until March 13th when I plug in zeros for everything. And they're like, holy hell, I've been behind this whole time and I didn't even know. Because it happened to a couple people last semester when I went in there and I said, make sure you're done, make sure you're done. I'm putting zeros on Friday, putting zeros on Friday, putting zeros on Friday. And I put zeros in and I had so many students come to my class and say, I didn't know I was missing, can I make those up? And I'm like, no, sorry, you can't. Okay? So that means stay up to date. You've had plenty of time to do it. You can do it. Okay? So make sure you go, when you sign into those timelines and you look at the timeline, go through every single piece of the module. Okay? And at the very bottom, and the way I organize it as material first. There she is. Goodness gracious. Welcome. Welcome to class. So I go material first, then assignments, then exams. So if there's an assignment or a forum, it'll be before the exams, okay? So I put your actual work that you need to do on the bottom with all the material that goes to it right before it, okay? So if you go through all the material before you even start the assignment, you should do pretty good. If you're concerned about getting good grades on the assignment, do the assignment. If you feel like you struggled on it, then get help before you do it again. That way, because you get those freebies to try and redo it and get better scores, okay? Also, if you want extra practice, do all the material, do some practice problems in the book. Every answer to every problem in the book is there. So you can do your couple practice problems, make sure you got it, because you can check your work really quick. And not only do they give you the answer, but they give you the work they did before. So you can look at every single problem. There's no reason why you should be struggling. If you are, that is understandable also. And we have study people that can help you. Chessie and Jessie. Say that 10 times fast. Chessie and Jessie. Anyways. Chessie and Jessie are both at the Student Learning Center. Chessie is the designated one for this class. Jessie is a tutor for other courses, but he took this class for me last semester and almost aced, got 100% for the semester. So he can help you too, and he knows what I'm expecting. He knows what I want you to do. What happens is if you go to somebody else, they're like, oh, that should be fine, that should be fine. It looks like you're getting it, looks like you're getting it. And then you put that in there and then you get half credit for not showing your work or not doing something right. Those two know exactly my expectations of you guys because they took this class. Okay? Understood? Do we got it all? Did I give enough lecturing? Want to get started on class material? Okay. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with you, Sasha?
I know. I'm here though.
I'm glad you're here, which is better than not here.
Right?
True story. True story. Thank you for putting that in perspective for me.
One more time. One more time. Spit it out.
6, 7.
Don't count it. Pull it up. Perfect. You didn't get an automatic one.
Ah! There it is.
He walks away.
Goodness gracious. All right, let's get started. Okay, so today we have, it says chapter 17 and 18, but today we're doing just chapter 17 and we'll do chapter 18 next week. So this is just oral medications today.
really important. Just kidding. I'm not, is it okay if I smack it?
Your glasses.
I've already looked over my glasses that are pretty not.
All right. So chapter 17 and 18. Let's turn off one of the slides. So what's parenteral stand for? IV and IM. Anything that's injected. Okay. So here's some forms of solid medications that you might see. We have there we go, is that better? There it is. Okay. You have tablets, caplets, scored tablets, enteric coated tablets. Does everybody know what an enteric coated tablet is? Anybody that takes a baby aspirin daily and who's ever had an upset stomach due to aspirin knows that enteric coated is a lot nicer to your belly. Okay. Sublingual tablets. You have layered tablets, and those layered tablets are the ones that have like guaifenesin, and you can get not mucomist, Mucinex, where it has like 1,200 of Mucinex, and part of it's a one-time-a-day pill, and part of it's immediate acting, and part of it's long-acting. Okay, two different chemical structures that are mixed together in layers on the pill. Okay, and then you have, well, just leading into that, time-release and extended-release tablets. And capsules. So make sure that when you're converting from one system to the other, that you use the factors that I tell you to use. That's what this is saying. We want to have consistency. So, like I said, 30 mLs per ounce, use the appropriate weight conversions and those kinds of things. Don't use what Google says, okay? Google says what's perfect for the science world carried out to the 10th degree, right? Which is great, but for pharmacy and for medication use, the ones that I give you on your sheet are the ones that really are used every day in nursing, pharmacy, and those kinds of things, okay? So aspirin may indicate on the label 5 grains, which is 325 milligrams, okay? And this is based on the 65 milligrams per 1 grain. Other labels might say 5 grains is 300 milligrams, which is 60 milligrams to 1 grain. So make sure that you use what's on your label also, okay? Because that's what the manufacturer is telling you to use. So if the manufacturer says that on this label 65 grains, 65 milligrams equals 1 grain, or you have 1 grain is 5 grains is 325 milligrams, okay? Make sure that that's the conversion factor you use to do your math, okay? Because they're telling you what to use. So, capsules are not scored and cannot be divided. Remember, capsules they're the gelatin, right? And they pop apart and they have the powder inside. So, unless I've got my razor blade and my mirror out, not that I've made, what? What's that?
I'm trying to think, there is a capsule that they tell you to do that with.
To break it open?
Yeah, but I can't remember. Usually in elderly, and they usually tell you to put it in food.
Okay, the only time, what's that? Applesauce. So the only time you break capsules is to put them in applesauce, which is fine. Point is, I can't divide a dose though. So that's what I'm talking about here. So yeah, I can break that in half and put it in applesauce and mix it up and everything fine and dandy. But I can't break it up and put it on and try to, okay, this is half a dose and this is the other half, and then put it in somebody's applesauce. That's the point that we're talking about with capsules aren't scored, and they shouldn't be tried to divide, because inside those capsules is powder. And depending if it's an extended release, then inside the extended release you'll have a bunch of little mini capsules. that are designed to release over time. And so unless I count all the beads on one side and count all the beads, they make solid medications that can be split for that situation. Never crush or open a time-released capsule or empty its contents into liquid or food, okay? So this is when you have the difference between like oxycodone IR, which is immediate release, and oxycodone ER. Okay, so oxycodone IR will come in 5 milligram and 10 milligrams and 15 milligram tablets. That once the second I pop that pill, within 30 to 40 minutes, I should have the effect the desired effect. With the time release, you can get oxycodone in 30, 60, 90, 120, okay, tablets. So if I take an ER tablet and I crush it up, the chemical components that keep it to actually delay that release so I don't get it all at once are no more, okay? So if I take a 30 milligram tablet and crush it up and put it in somebody's food, they're going to get 30 milligrams like that, which is designed for them to get it over the next 6 hours, right? So if I give them 6 hours worth of medication, then I can overdose them very quickly and cause respiratory depression, even coma death. So make sure you understand that with time release capsules, that we don't crush them, that we don't do anything other than give them how they're prescribed, okay? What commonly happens if we have medications that are like a time release capsule, what will change if they have to get them, if they have to have it so they can't swallow a pill, then what we'll do is we'll give them an IV form in smaller doses, or we'll give them immediate release in equivalent short doses. So if I take 240 milligrams verapamil once a day, then I'll give them 30 milligrams every, is that 4 hours, right? Yeah, 30 times 6 is 180. So 30, either way, you're smoking what I'm rolling, right? You're smelling what I'm stepping in?
Yeah.
So I would give that smaller dose, immediate release, more frequently to make up for the fact that I can't crush an extended release pill, okay? Only scored tablets are intended to be divided. So if you notice, if you take medication like at one time in my life, I had to take metoprolol, okay? And they told me to take metoprolol, extended release, 25 milligrams a day. So the 25 milligrams was way more expensive than getting a bunch of 50s and splitting them. So I got 50s extended release, and then I knew it was okay because in the center of the tablet there was a nice line that fit perfectly into my pill splitter that I could split. Okay, that's the design. So I'm not altering anything. I'm still getting my extended release properties, and I'm not causing anything of me getting 25 milligrams like that could cause a problem. Okay. But when in doubt, make sure that you refer to your drug reference. Okay. When you guys start going to nursing school or pharmacy tech or whatever you decide to go into, there's a drug reference. It's either Davis or Mosby's, and in that drug reference, it will tell you. You can pull up the medication. It will say these types of tablets can be crushed, these types cannot, and some even now they're even having pictures of the tablets and these drug guides, so you can actually see. Oh, that's pink. Oh, that's pink. Oh, it says not to crush. Okay. So to compute doses accurately, make sure that you read the problem carefully and identify the known factors first, identify what you're needing to solve for or the unknown factors, and then make sure that you look at what actually matters, okay? So you're going to start seeing more and more distracting information in your problems, aka real life, right? Because you're going to get an order, and it's going to from a doctor, and he's also going to talk to you about the order and say 150 things, and you're going to need to make sure that you understand and realize what you need to differentiate as important and not for your math, okay? And it's really not that hard. It sounds scary at first, but once you realize what's really needed, then it'll make sense, okay? So make sure that you eliminate unnecessary information that is not relevant, okay?
It's relevant overall, but it's not relevant to the math.
Right. So if I ask you, case in point, let's say I had that question we talked about, how many grams total is the patient going to take? I could have had that same problem with 10 milligrams per kilogram per day. Patient weighs 12 kilograms. They're going to take it 3 times a day for 10 days. How much do I need to give them per dose? And I'll tell you right now that I'll have the total bottle amount that they need to have versus just that one dose. What was the one dose? 40 milligrams, right? But I'll have a totally different answer on the end because somebody didn't understand what I'm actually asking for. So make sure that you look and see what exactly is being asked, okay? And make sure that what is ordered is available or in the same system of measurement units, or that you can do the math to convert that, okay? And we talked about this common sense. Consider what would be a reasonable answer based on what is ordered, okay? So like I said, if you ever get an answer that you're gonna give 1,000 tablets of something, 2 large Costco bottles of ibuprofen at one dose, that's probably not the right answer. Common sense tells us so, okay? Because we would never take 2 bottles of anything at once, right?
On our last thing, didn't you say that you don't take any more than 3 at a time or something like that?
So yeah, and if it's possible, one of the things we talked about last week during the lab was I have 50 milligram pills and 25 milligram pills, and my dose is 100 milligrams. Am I going to give them 2 50s, 150 and 2 25s, or 4 25s? And the answer is always going to be the less pills, the better, if you can get an accurate dose. Now, if my pharmacy, which happens occasionally, like here, we keep a lot of medications in our formulary here at Mount Graham, but we keep the cheapest version of those medications on our formulary. So, like, but there's certain medications where it's cheaper for us to give 2 25 milligram tablets than 150. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So whatever is available, use the least amount of pills possible. Okay. Make sure that you set up the problem whatever way you're going to do it, whatever way makes sense. So whether that's ratio, proportion, the formula method, dimensional analysis, or some willy-nilly thing like I do every once in a while that makes sure that you get the right answer every time, okay? And make sure that you label the final answer. Some of you are finding out that gets you half credit if you don't have labels on your answers, okay? Make sure you label your answers so I know exactly, because 1,000 milligrams is definitely different than 1,000 grams. 1,000 tablets is definitely different than 1,000 milligrams, okay? So I need to know exactly what I'm going to be giving my patient after you do your math, okay? You can state answers this is something that the previous instructor was pretty specific on, half tab or 1.5 tabs instead of 0.5 tabs or 1.5 tabs. I'll be honest with you, I'm a very numerical person because I have a science background, so I don't mind either or. As long as you have no trailing zeros and you have a leading zero on your decimal point, that's fine. But the only real acceptable answer for splitting tablets is half. Okay, so if you say 0.5 tablets, that's great. But I shouldn't see a 0.25 tablet because I'm not going to split a tablet 4 ways because I can't accurately do that. Especially if it's a small little tablet like a nitrosublingual tablet that's 0.4 milligrams. And it's tiny. It's the tiniest thing because it goes underneath your tongue and it dissolves in seconds. I'm not going to divide that 4 ways, okay, based on the dose. So make sure that you understand that the only acceptable split is half of the tab. And as long as your dose is within 10% of that half tab, then that's okay. And yes, Amber. Go ahead. Okay.
Our stuff at our split in quarters.
And if it's scored that way and it's a large tablet, then that's okay. And if that's I don't have any of those on the problems.
Okay.
But in real life, if that's an available option, then yes. Because I've seen those, yes.
We've had doctors ask for morphine split into quarters.
Yeah.
So we had to sit there literally with, it was the funniest thing, because you would come out with like this little grain of salt.
Yeah.
How are these?
And you lose half of it. You lose half of it in the crushing splitting process. There's all kinds of powder and stuff when you crush a tablet. So, yeah. All right. So let's go through an order. Let's go through an actual order here. So if I have an order of ampicillin, 0.5 grams. Excuse me. There's no R on there. 0.5 grams by mouth every 6 hours. Okay. So
you always write down your order, 0.5 grams, and then your available is 250 milligram capsules, which is 250 milligrams per capsule, or my dosage strength, okay? So we know that we also have on our conversion chart, if we didn't know it already, that 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. So this is the way the book wants you to do it. They start you off by having X milligrams and going this distance. But the way we would do it is 0.5 grams first, then converting it with that 1,000 milligrams over 1 gram so it cancels out. And then I can take my 500 milligrams in front of 250 milligrams, or I can make it one continuous dimensional analysis method like we did on some of those problems on the board. Either way works, okay? Whatever makes sense in your brain and gets you the right answer every time makes me happy.
So you're saying we should do it the way in the second example?
You can split it if you want to solve for your milligrams first and then solve for your, because you have to convert it because we know that grams is what it's ordered, but it's available in 250 milligrams. So you can split it and you can do it as, okay, I'm going to figure out my milligrams first so I'm on the same page, and then I can figure out what's available and do it that way. Or you can do it continuous.
Yeah, is it not better for somebody especially that's having problems to follow the same procedure every single time so that they know that they didn't mess up? So they would always start with 0.5.
Exactly. So, like I said, create consistency. So whatever way works for you, do it the same way every time. So if you want to split it in two, because that makes sense, that's fine. If you want to make it one continuous dimensional analysis problem, because this is two dimensional analysis problems in a one, okay? Either or is fine. Just make sure that you do it the same way every time so you can practice it and be consistent.
So I would choose to do it as milligrams equals 0.5 grams times 1,000 over 1.
1,000 over 1, and then if it was me, I would make it just 1, really right off the bat. So I would do 0.5 times 1,000 divided by 1 times 1 divided by 250 to get my 2 caps. That's what I would do.
I normally just do order divided by available.
Yeah, and that's the formula method, which is fine too. Like I said, one more time, whatever gets you the right answer every time is the best answer.
Well, I just want to do it the way that, say, when we're out in the workforce,
Mhm.
or when we're actually doing this for real.
Right. So what they will teach you, the best way I feel is dimensional analysis. And if you have to split it into dimensional analysis times 2, like that one problem where we try to figure out how to do dimensional analysis to figure out 3 times a day, which is borderline impossible, then split it in 2. That's fine. That's what that problem is doing, okay? But some of the nursing instructors are like 50-50. Someone will say, just use dimensional analysis. They'll get you the right answer every time. And then you'll go to skills lab and 50% of the instructors say, no, just use the dosage over available times this, and that's the formula method. It works every time, which it does for most things, okay? Dimensional analysis will solve every problem. Formula will only solve certain problems because you have to add some steps to it to solve IV calculation rates, okay? So you're gonna have multiple instructors telling you different ways because every way is different for everybody else, okay? So like dimensional analysis might click for you and it might not. But whatever way clicks and gets you the right answer every time is the best way, okay? Reminds me when I went to this critical care conference and we put these patients on ventilators, okay? And the ventilator is a breathing machine. We put his tube down their throat and we breathe for these critical patients. We sedate them, we paralyze them, and we take over their respiratory status, okay? And there's so many different methods. There's so many different modes and ways to ventilate a patient. So complicated, and it freaks nurses out every time because there's so many ways to do the same thing. And that's take oxygen in and put out CO2. That's all that we're doing for our patients when we put them on a ventilator. That's all that's important, really, other than make sure we don't cause any damage. So we have all these hundreds of ways to do the same thing. Put oxygen in, take carbon dioxide out, and don't hurt the patient. Those are the 3 things that are really important with putting a patient on a vent. So they asked the question at the beginning of the conference. What is the best ventilation mode to use? What is going to be the best for your patient? So everybody's like APRV, ASV. Everybody's got all these complicated dual PAP, all these different methods that are way, 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 way complicated. Everything. And then the presenter's like, no, 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 no. The one that works the best is the one that you know frontwards and backwards and can manage appropriately. And that's true. I can manage a patient on an event on AC, which is the most simplest mode, if you understand how to use it, and I can manage it and get a lot of the same effects that somebody can do with a complicated mode, okay? Because that's all that matters, is that I get the right answer every time, no matter what way I do it, aka I'm not going to harm my patient, and I'm putting oxygen in and taking carbon dioxide out. I'm getting the same results, right? So make sure that no matter how complicated you think it needs to be, if you have an easier way that works every time and gets you the right answer, that's the best way to do it, okay? I'm just teaching you multiple methods the book recommends, but in real life I use dimensional analysis. So, okay? Man, I've been on a soapbox today. I need something to stand on. Holy cow. So oral liquids, there's different kinds of oral liquids. We have elixirs, which are alcohol solutions that's sweet and are aromatic, right? Like NyQuil. I like NyQuil, I'm sorry. Not that I'm addicted to it or have any problems. Like, I remember when I was in high school, the coolest thing to do was to drink Robitussin. I don't know if that's still cool anymore. You guys that were in high school recently, is that? But if you drink massive amounts of Robitussin, the dextromorphan will cause hallucinations, like you're tripping on acid. What's that?
Called Robotrip.
Robotrip, right? So, anyways, that was several years ago when I was in high school. But yeah, people would be like going to the counter and be like, oh, putting it into their carts, you know, like, we're having a party tonight. This is legal, you know. So, scooping it all in, they're clearing the counters. Anyways, then there is suspension, okay, and that's when you have actual ground up medication, finally put into a water suspension, and you shake it up. So like Amoxil, that pink stuff, before you get it from us, it's in powder form, and then we add the amount that it says on the label, and we shake it up really good, and then we give it to you in that pink liquid, Amoxil. Okay, but in actuality, it's a suspension. It's actual fine powder suspended in water. Okay. That's why we tell you to shake it every time you use it, because what does that fine powder do? It will eventually settle, okay? So that's why you got to shake up the suspension so you have an even dose. And then there's syrup, which is medication dissolved in concentrated solutions of sugar and water, okay? Oh, lactulose. Does anybody know what lactulose is? It does. It makes you poop. So, you can take it for two reasons. Does anybody know the two reasons that you take it? They both have the same end result. You poop a lot. But there's two reasons. What's that? Okay, so if you have a blockage, you can take lactulose. And then there is one more, and this is just, I know this came up. It keeps you regular, keep you going. But there's one more. And you learn this in anatomy if you haven't taken anatomy already. Okay, it's commonly prescribed to liver patients, to liver failure patients. Okay, anybody have a guess why I would take it? It gets something out of your system. Okay, what is the byproduct of protein breakdown that your liver usually takes care of? This is anatomy. Come on, guys. Bile's the actual produces, it's a product that's produced by the liver that's stored in the gallbladder that's used to emulsify fats. Ammonia. Ammonia is something that your liver, it's a byproduct of protein breakdown, and your body, the liver filters it and gets rid of it, no problem. But when you're liver failure, you can't get rid of ammonia. So you get to the point that you act like you're drunk all the time, to the point that you can get unconscious, to the point that you stop breathing, to the point that you die, ammonia buildup. And that's what happens commonly with liver failure patients, is they build up their ammonia. When they go on hospice, they'll build up their ammonia, get nice and sleepy, slowly fall asleep and die. sounds nice and all in comparison, but the whole process of having ascites and weeping skin and yellow and itchy skin from all the nasty byproducts also that aren't getting rid of makes liver failure nasty, nasty, nasty. But anyways, so what lactulose does is it makes you poop, but it makes you poop differently than other medications. That's why we give it for liver failure. It changes the pH in your bowel, and then it turns your bowel into a way that it can get rid of ammonia. So when it changes the pH, then the ammonia goes to the bowel, and then it's excreted out of the bowel. So that's why we give lactulose. That's why we don't just give them Miralax or some other kind of laxative, because lactulose actually changes the pH of the colon and then makes it so that ammonia can be excreted. Now you guys are that much smarter.
Thank you.
So now you know. Anyways, back to the question at hand. We have an order, lactulose 30 grams PO/BID. Available is lactulose 10 grams and 15 mLs. Okay? So we can start with our dose of 30 grams. Multiply that by 15 divided by 10 gets us to 45. Okay? And that's just using dimensional analysis. And we'll do some of these problems on the board too. Elixir of phenobarbital, grains 1.5, so 1.5 grains PO or by mouth daily, okay? And your elixir of phenobarbital is labored 20 milligrams per 5 mLs. Aspirin's about the only one that uses a 65 milligrams per 1 grain. Almost all other medications, unless specified differently on the label, will use 60 milligrams equals 1 grain, okay? Just remember that when you're doing your math. So that's why you wonder, well, do I use 65 or 60? Use 60 unless told otherwise. So 1.5 grains, I would change that to 1.5 because I don't like using fractions in dimensional analysis other than for the conversion factor. So 1.5 times 60 divided by 1 times 5 divided by 20, okay? And that will get you the 22.5 mLs. And we'll do some of these on the board if this looks confusing, okay? This is set up the way the book shows it to you. But as you can see by the problems that we did prior to, that I like to use a little bit different method, starting with my dose first and no other, and so I can work from one end to the other. Just like those videos are on your web study. All right. Any questions so far other than the confusing ones? Okay, so let's pick some from chapter 17. Once I grab my book, yes.
Thoughts on
298. Just remember, I'm going to say something that if it's too easy for you, doesn't mean it's too easy for somebody else. Okay, remember this math can be hard. Remember, some days you're going to be the bug and some days you're going to be the windshield, right?
I got one that looks really hard.
Okay, let's which number?
34.
Number 34 on page.
07. It looks hard, but I don't know if it is. So.
I got a great idea. How many people we have here?
That's only 2. Was it the
17.
Give somebody 3.
Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so I'm gonna point to you and you're gonna say 1 or 2. We're gonna go in order. Okay? No, here's that. I will give you 2 groups. I don't want 2 groups. 17. I want 8 groups.
You gotta do that.
Yeah, I want 8 groups. So I'm gonna count, and we're gonna count to 8, and then the group ones will have 1 person. Okay? 3 people. Smoke them. You're picking up on the way down.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Let's just count to 8. That's all I want you to do, okay? Okay.
1.
2. Good. He's close. Okay.
3.
I thought you were gonna do 9. I was gonna see if you did it. So 1,
3,
4,
5.
6,
8.
1.
Okay, so get with your partner or your group of 3, and I'm going to give each of you a problem. Okay? Then you will have to do that problem on the board. So pick a spokesperson, but you have to do the problem on a piece of paper, and then we'll have you do it on the board.
Mine's out and it's turned up. So you got one too? Okay, ready? Hi, Green, how are you today? You sure? It's got 400 milligrams over 57 milligrams. This is 200
How many have I picked so far here? Let's see here. I've got 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
4, 5. Maybe 3 more.
I thought, I was looking at it, and it's hopefully helpful. That one was really easy.
Count me out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, the wrong medication.
I have to go to elections again.
Okay. Which group are you with? You were 6. So whoever the extra person was in number 1. So go to number 6. Who's missing a 6? Mongaza's got number 6. Okay, so go with Mongaza. I haven't given a problem. Yes.
Oh.
No. The other last person was number 1. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. 1s are doing number 1 on 298. 2s are doing number 3 on 299. The 3s are doing number 4 on 299. 5s are doing number 21 on 304. No, 4s I mean. 4s are doing number 21 on 304. 5s are doing number 22 on 304. 6s are doing number 34 on 307. Did I miss 5s again? Sevens are doing number 43 on 315, and 8s are doing number 48 on 316. Okay, everybody got their problem?
That's why I said I don't know how to do it, it's just to add them. Or you can just do.
You gotta change 1 gram.
Because you could give, you could get that one. So, all you can do is say, this is how you work it out.
Whenever you figure out your problem, I want you to write it on the board with the page number and the number of the problem first, then you'll work with the answer.
This is the way the pages are.